Thanks a lot, Taker, once again for your valuable contribution today. It was really nice to hear how you and the Well Institute are contributing to a better IAQ for us all and to showcase the importance of this subject. And now I also understand why you had your own TV show. I really liked watching it, frankly speaking. Speaking about health, I'd like to introduce you to a truly healthy man from a very healthy company. I'm happy to welcome Mr. Lars Kristensen, who is the Senior Director for Eastern Europe, Middle East and Africa at Camfil. Lars, what is Camfil all about?
Camfil is another great Swedish company. It's family owned, and for more than 50 years they've been providing sustainable air filtration solutions for our processes, for people, and of course for the environment. And that's what I will be talking a little bit about today.
Yeah. And Lars is going to talk about clean air made for improving lives. Enjoy, gentlemen and ladies. Thank you.
Okay. So, as I said, we will be talking a little about the air, which is actually, the key ingredient when we talk about a ventilation system. And this is, of course, the importance of why we need to filter the air. Unfortunately, the blue sky scenario is not something we can take for granted. There's air pollution everywhere. We're all exposed to it, some more, some less. However, when we talk about air filtration in general, we often look at our processes. When we do our semiconductors, microchip manufacturing, food and beverage, pharmaceuticals, all that, we need to have very clean air for our processes to avoid any contamination, to get the right output, to maintain a good quality, and so on. So for all these processes, we provide protection for them in terms of air filtration, so the air that goes into your processes. Some processes, unfortunately, also generate some harmful substances. So sometimes it's not enough to clean the air that goes into the building. It can also be that you have created some harmful substances, so the air that goes out of the building also needs to be cleaned. So that's another area where we work on. That could be, for instance, a nuclear power plant. So, of course, you do not wish to have any radioactive material released into the outside air. However, there's thousands of different processes that we protect, but we will not be talking about any of those today because there's one more, far more complex and more important than any of these industrial processes, and that's you, human beings and our breathing system. If we want to talk a little bit about human consumption and put things a little bit in perspective, then the average person eats about 1 kilo of food every day. We consume about 2 liters of liquids in terms of water, whatever. However, the biggest ingredient in your daily consumption is air, and that's 15 kilo. 15 kilo of oxygen you take into your system every day. Many of us, when we travel abroad, we're a bit careful about the food. Maybe we avoid the street vendors because we are careful, or we are concerned that we may have some stomach upset or whatever. I see people that avoid to have ice cubes in their drinks because maybe they're concerned that it has been, they've been made from polluted tap water. But when it comes to air, not many people really consider, the air that comes in the area where you go. So we create a lot of pollution. Like I said, we're all exposed to it. So particles in various sizes, how do they enter the building and so on, is if you have an inefficient air filtration system in your ventilation system, particle of varying size will enter the building, eventually into you. So larger particles, 10 micron and above, will be caught in your upper tract or upper part of your respiratory system. 2.5 micron size will go a little bit deeper, and when we go below 1 micron, they will go deep into your alveoli, deep in your lungs, and may even penetrate and go into your airstream. Indoor air, and the indoor air can sometimes be up to 50 times more polluted than the outdoor air, especially when you have recirculation, that they continue to accumulate in the system. All these harmful particles that you have, especially the smaller they are, so below 1 micron, are linked by scientists to many serious diseases. It can be heart disease, cancer, asthma, and so on. So it's extremely important that we try to remove them from the air in order to have a good system. So just to put that to perspective again, so the large particles in your upper respiratory tract, you move a little bit smaller, 2.5 micron particles. It could start to the lower respiratory tract, and when we go to below 1 micron, and especially the ultrafine, that's where they go deep into your alveoli, and for the very fine ones, they may even penetrate the membranes and into your bloodstream, and that's where it starts to get really serious. So our focus today will be on these, because these are the ones that are the most difficult to remove, and these are the ones that are most harmful for you. So air pollution is the fourth biggest threat to human health today. If you take some of the biggest or most polluted cities around the world, studies have been made, and they will see that the average life expectancy may drop from 4 to 5 years for a person. That's a big chunk of your life that's taken away simply from air pollution. We also have about 7 million people dying from prematurely related to air pollution every year. That's also a significant amount of people. And then, of course, during the past 2 years, we have lived with another airborne threat, which has been COVID-19 or coronavirus. So to that equation, you can add at least 5 million people and counting. So this is another thing that we want to address. If you look at the corona or the COVID virus, you can see the size of it. It's very, very far below 1 micron, so we again down in the really, really, really small sizes. So if you wish to remove them, what can we do? So what can be done? What is our recommendation to you? So of course, in order to improve a ventilation system, the key is of course to look at the airflow and the air filtration. Some of the things you can do is you can turn off recirculation or reduce the recirculation and move to 100% fresh air, just like Systemair has done for this building. You can put in a good air filtration system or good air filters in place. Systemair has done the same in this building with our filters, so that's great. So that's a good part. And in addition to that, you may want to supplement with maybe standalone air cleaners if required. Our recommendation is to use an ISO EPM1 filter, minimum 80% if you want to capture these kind of viruses. When I say ISO 16890, that may be a little bit of a foreign word for those of you that are not in the air filtration vision. So let me explain a little bit more about it. It's a standard for general ventilation filters. And it's a global standard that was created in 2017, came into action in 2018. How this was made was basically you took the large regional standards, SWA 52.2, which is a US standard. You looked at EN 779, which is a European standard, and other standards, and basically took the best of both standards, or the various standards that were considered. So you sort of built it with the best components of each and achieved, a global standard based on that. That sort of created a level playing field, again, with same goals, same test methods, and same results. In the past, we always had to compare from region to region, different test measures and so on. So now you suddenly had, people tested the same way and got the same result. Also, as a manufacturer, I didn't need to test the same product in 10 different ways and get 10 different results because that will vary. So that has been a good thing. And last but not least, it also became a lot more simple. It was a lot easier to understand because now it was aligned with real-world pollution. So as you may know, often when we measure air pollution outside, we look at PM2.5 levels or PM1 levels moving to more. So basic filter classes are divided into 4 different groups. So coarse filters for very large particles, PM10, PM2.5, and PM1. And to be within a group, you need to achieve minimum 50% efficiency. And as I said earlier, of course, PM1 is the dangerous particles, so let's keep our focus on these. So now, if we a little bit rewind, so we go back and we take our old filters out, we put some highly effective filters in place, and we will start to capture, of course, all these fine particles, and you will have a lovely indoor air quality. So it sounds very simple, and partly is. So now we have, of course, kicked away the virus, we have kicked away all the harmful particles, and yeah, we're all jolly and can go home. There's a little bit more to this. So, of course, we are in the sustainable city here, or the sustainable area, so we need to look, of course, also at the cost to make sure you make the right selection. Now you have the right efficiency, you will get a clean environment, but how do you achieve that? So, some facts or fiction here. Oops, something went wrong. No. Never mind. It's coming now. So, of course, you need to look at the complete cost structure or the operating cost of when you purchase a filter. So it's fiction when you say it's just the filter cost. Actually, the most important cost of putting an air filter in your system is the energy. So that's where we need to focus today. So here's an example. You have two different filters, and you can see the kilowatt consumption or the annual consumption per year. So if you compare filter on the right to the left, you will see there's a cost saving of around 75 euro, purely based on energy cost. So by selecting the filter on the right, you will have a huge saving on the energy side, and often that may even exceed actually the cost of the filter on the right. So in other words, by buying the filter on the right, you might actually lose money because the operating cost is going to be significantly higher. One of the ways you achieve a low resistance to the airflow that brings down the energy consumption is by putting more filtration surface into a filter, like they've done in filter labeled A+. That gives you another advantage is, of course, when you increase the filtration surface, you can also handle a lot more dust. So at the same time, it also increases the life of the filter. So the filter on the right will also last longer than this. So you will not only reduce your energy cost, it will also last longer. So you need to change it less frequent. So easy again, I want that one. So when I need to go and buy my filter, I would like to have a little bit of insurance of, do I really get the performance that I need? And for that, there are various tools we can use. One I in particular like is a third-party way of verifying performance, which is called Eurovent. And here, all air filter manufacturers can basically send in their filters and get them tested and evaluated and performance rated. What you get in this case is, first of all, you get the filter tested according to the latest standard, and you can see exactly what the efficiency of this model is. Secondly, you can also see your running cost. As you can see, the annual energy consumption is also stated clearly on the label. And last but not least, it's done third party, so again, it's not just manufacturing, the manufacturer's data. So that, I think, gives some confidence. You know what you're getting. What's on the box is what's in the box, which is also one of our sayings. A lot has been spoken about how data-driven we are today. And of course, we have seen a lot about the sensors you have within the Systemair units and so on. And to give you some other examples of that, as I said, outside we have some air cleaners in the lobby. These are connected to a sensor, and basically the units, they operate according to the indoor cleanliness level. So if the pollution level starts to go up, the air unit will work a little bit harder. At night when we go home and we have a steady state or the air con off, it's not going to be running. So this type of data you can see on the wall on one of the screens out there. This is how you continuously, in real life, can monitor how the air is and what you need, how you need to treat it. So, to finish off, choose your clean air solution wisely. So what do you need to do? Of course, you need to focus on the fine particles. That's the dangerous ones. I would suggest that you test according to the latest standards, which my friend Teka, he was also into. Make sure you always take the latest standards. They are the most comprehensive. Verify the performance. Use, for instance, something like Eurovent, but you can also get a third-party test report on many products. And last but not least, to make sure it's also a sustainable solution, you need to look, of course, at the operating cost. Our vision as a company is to make clean air a human right, just like water. And to add on that, here's a statement from World Health Organization, which basically says everyone has the right to breathe healthy indoor air. That's all for me, and thank you for.
Lars, thank you very much.
Yep.
You can shortly stay on stage with me. So if we remember the keywords, I remember ISO 16890, EPM 180%. Anything I missed?
I don't know. For me, look at the small particles. These are the ones you need to remove from the air. PM1 is keyword. Look at your total cost of ownership. What's the operating cost of having a filter in your system? That would be the second part. That makes it sustainable. You need to have that balance. Choose the right efficiency, of course, to capture these.
Thanks a lot, Lars. And with this in mind, next up is our high-ranking panel discussion with distinguished guests. So we ask you to stay alert for roughly 4 minutes while we set up the stage. And meanwhile, we are telling you a little bit more about the Systemair Group. So pay close attention.